Scott, Tom Hitchcock, how are you?
Fantastic. Thanks, Tom. Yourself?
Yeah, tip top, thank you. So we were just talking before I clicked on record then that you're my third Scott that I've spoken to on here this week, or today, essentially. And I've got myself all confused on which Scott is which now. So you'd have to excuse me. Perhaps it'd be best if I don't do the talking and you do. It doesn't matter then.
I love it. Well, if you're going to get a jam-packed weekend of Scots, may as well do it all in one day, yeah?
That's it. That's exactly it. And it was purely circumstantial because sometimes these are booked a long time in advance and what have you. And the odds of that happening all together on one day is slim, you know.
Yeah.
But everyone's been fantastic so far, and I'm sure should probably saving the best to last. Eh? We'll go with that.
Look, I'm just one of many people out there trying to put smiles on faces. So
I love that. I love that. So on that premise alone, I'm already looking forward to this conversation. We don't know too much about each other. Okay, so let's go straight into it. Give our audience a bit of a description about who you are and what you do.
yeah, giddy up. So Scott Carson, the heart of the business of smiles. And lately I've been dancing with my internal why. What is it that I'm really about? What is it that really at my core is my essence? And at the end of the day, life is better with a smile. I'll explain that. For a lot of years, I didn't. A lot of years, I projected the pain that life gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the inner work, and I found my inner smile. Now I project that. For many, many years, people would walk away from me. Didn't want to be around that anger, fear. These days, people come towards me.
Mm-hmm.
My life is literally better with a smile.
Okay. All right. I love that. That's a lovely intro. If anybody listening to it, I'm sure there's a little smirk inside saying, yeah, I like that. I get that. The way this translates to me, okay, yeah, and a lot of people who's listening to this may resonate to this is a lot of time people wear their stresses, okay? They wear events from 10 years ago. They don't realise it. They say they've forgotten, they're forgiven, but it's on their shoulders. It's in their psyche. It's the energy still consuming them, and it still affects their everyday behaviour.
Yeah.
They may also actually be smiling, but it doesn't marry up with their inner self as well. So there's now a facade. You have people talk about how you should act in public, and the fact that we use that word "act" it means it's a falsehood. You know, this isn't real. You know, you've got to have a persona. We wear different hats when we're in the workplace, we're going back home, and what have you, which means none of those they're all disingenuous. You know?
Yeah.
So what by the sounds what you've done, you've gone through a bit of a journey, which I'm sure we'll unpack shortly, where you've sort of channeled your negative energies and what have you, and your traumas and whatever, good, bad, indifferent. Got comfortable with yourself, and I think probably the key to this, and I remember reading this in a book called Hold Again.
No.
I highly recommend it to anybody, regardless. It's a real big one to swallow, but in essence, it's all about unconditional love and to ourselves, and just sit in pain and process it, push it out of the way. You know, am I wide of the mark, or am I getting close?
Oh, very much so. Like it's interesting. There's a lot of things going through my head right now, and the number one thing I'm going to put on the table now is courageous conversations. I'm very passionate about the well-being of men, in particular fatherhood. Very passionate about it because no matter what we do for our kids, no matter where we send them to be educated, no matter what happens, we can give them as much support as they like. But if their home environment is not strong, they can't take on the information.
Mm-hmm.
Courageous conversation is where I help men have the conversations in life that we don't normally have. Because the stuff that's inside us is what we outwardly project.
Mm-hmm.
For years, as I said, I projected my anger. Now I choose love with every action. I'll get into a little bit later. But I'm going to give you a little bit of my story. Okay. So it was 11 years ago now. One of the most beautiful days, day before Mother's Day. We're on bike, riding. Do you know Melbourne at all? If you know Melbourne, it's got the Yarra River that runs through it, right? And beautiful bike path along there. So we took the bikes to the city, took the bikes, rode into South Melbourne, sat and had lunch. Beautiful day. It was my wife, my son, and I. And then we head over to St Kilda, and little man fell asleep on the back of the bike. So we pulled up and watched the footy for a little bit and let him have a bit of a rest. He was 2 years old at the time. Riding back, we head into the city and we go to the Lindt Chocolate Bar and sitting there. And I don't know if you went to Lindt Chocolate Bar, but hot chocolate, mate, fantastic. Little man had a baby chino. The boss had the boss Marcella had a cappuccino. Then beautiful day, probably one of the most beautiful days we've ever had. We're riding back to the car. We're about a minute from the car, and I hear a noise. I turn around, and there's my wife laying there, blood pouring out of her head and her mouth. Thank God my son was on the back of my bike. I get back to her. We're on the bike path right next to the Yarra. Here I am with my wife in my right arm, blood pouring out of her head and her mouth. I got my 2-year-old son in my left arm. Every single person kept riding and running past us. No one would stop. Eventually, a young fella pulled in stopped and ended up getting a guy from the Australian Federal Police to come and help us out because we couldn't even figure out where we were. I was in the middle of a city. It took over 20 minutes for that to happen. Yeah. My wife had to learn to walk and talk again. That was a fair journey. I couldn't stop this burning question. Why didn't anybody stop? The most precious items in my life were in my hands, clearly in pain. What was it? What's the one thing I can do to make a difference in that moment? At the time, it was smile. And it took a couple of years to get to that. But here's the reality of the situation. My mum divorced from my father when I was younger, and she had 3 kids. Single mum looking after 3 kids, working 12 hours a day, doing it real hard. Never had time to work on herself, but desperate for help. She met a guy, got along well, supported her, but he wasn't the best of guys. And he was jealous of the time that my mum chose to spend with us rather than with him. So much so, one day on the way home from baseball, pull up, get out of the car. I slam his car door too hard. So he punches me in the face. I was a 13-year-old kid. My mum comes running out. Go, get out of here. Don't want to see you. Get out of here. You do not do that to my son. So he went to the pub. He got very drunk. Came back later that night, smashed up our house trying to get to me. If it wasn't for 2 of my neighbours, I wouldn't be here today. My mum, she ends up in the psych ward. Me, because of the relationship that's going on with my father and everything else, I got passed around from people to people. I became a very angry and violent young man. So here I am in the most emotional situation I've been in, scared. My go-to emotion was anger and fear because I'd never processed what happened to me.
Mhm.
And I can't help but think that is why I projected so much that nobody stopped and helped.
Mhm.
So these days, I help men have the conversations they need to have. I help men be better fathers, so we've got better environments for our kids. I help men be better role models in our communities, because so much of life at the moment for our men is very difficult. I've been gifted the opportunity to sit with hundreds of suicidal men. And opportunity. Yeah. And it is a gift, because I get people's darkest moments. I get the things that really matter. And we get the opportunity to sit down and work through that. That is a gift that not many people get to have.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a magnificent thing when we have a safe place to explore the opportunities that life gives us. A problem's not the problem, it's how we respond to the problem that either causes the pain, the lesson, or the opportunity. We can sit in the pain, or we can go through it. We can look for the lessons, and then we can create the opportunities with those lessons to better ourselves, to make better decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So much of life happens to us. So many of the things that happens in life are actually out of our control. But we do get to control how we respond.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest key for me.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for sharing the story. It has a somber tone, okay, for the person that likes to share smiles. But that's a good thing, because for me, life is warts and all. To not put a derogatory tone on it, shit happens, you know,
100%.
and it happens to everyone all the time at any time of their life. And you're quite right in the things that there's things that we can control, things we can't, and much of it we can't. There's a bit of cause and effects we can overanalyze somewhat, but if we should really only focus on what we can control, and dominantly that's our reaction to things. I think Winston Churchill had that saying, which is probably quite apt right now. When you're going through hell, keep going.
100%.
And that's one of the reasons why he won his war. Was one of the best leaders that we know, because he was going through hell and he was losing. It didn't look like he was going to win, with the shoulder of the whole nation and allied countries on his back, So people go through a lot, but the trick is to not stay in that space, because when you're there and you overthink it, why me? Why is this happening to me? Is it my fault? And what have you? Then you're almost guaranteed to make it worse, compound it.
Yeah. I keep saying opportunities and gifts, right? I've been gifted the opportunity for ICE to go through my business and destroy it. I've been gifted the opportunity for my business partner to reverse out of driveway, killed an elderly lady, and then him go sideways and then lose the business because of that. I've been gifted opportunities for my wife to go through all that pain of never actually dealing with that. I grew up with an alcoholic father. These are all opportunities to learn, but I keep going. And I get stronger. And it's the guy from the smiles, but I talk heavily. I talk with absolute passion for life. You've met Alan Stevens, and I'm presuming he showed you these.
I've got a pair upstairs.
You've got a pair upstairs. Brilliant. So what did that message mean to you when you saw that?
So if I recall correctly, this maybe about 3 years ago, I've got a pair of those. It was a case of the dots were the negativity, if I remember correctly, and it's not focusing those and to maybe focus on the bigger picture and positivity out of it. But I'm sure you can explain.
Oh, no, look, I love that. I love that, right? Because to every single person, you feel it how you see life. And I love hearing how people see that, because at the end of the day, black dots represent our dark days. We all have them. No one's getting out of that, right? But there is more sunshine than there is dark days. Sometimes we just need a reminder.
Yeah.
nearly 12,000 pairs of these socks have gone into the hands of individuals that just need a smile. When I'm not busy supporting men and helping them have conversations, I literally walk the streets thanking people for doing their best. Today, I've come from a meeting in Frankston, my hometown, and that would be the internet. I gotta love the internet. But so I was in Frankston, my hometown. Now I haven't been around Frankston for a bit because we lost the community kitchen, the Bayside Community Kitchen. It was next door to the methadone clinic, and we used to serve free food and create conversations. My role was to sit there every single Friday and build relationships with the community. Everybody in the community, whether they were completely numbing themselves, whether they were sleeping rough, it didn't matter. Today, I was gifted one of the most beautiful opportunities because of a pair of socks. I'm sitting there having a meeting with a guy, having a conversation about the bigger picture, helping him because he's hasn't seen his kids for 204 days. And one of the guys, who's a pretty notorious gentleman who's been on the streets for a long time, comes up, sits down, says g'day. This is a guy that has most people would have nothing to do with. He's a very violent man. But I get the opportunity for him to come and say g'day. Check out how he's going. Check out what his next move is. I'm not sure. Same as always. But I live in hope that one day he's gonna want some help. I want to do something different. I have so many stories to share with you around that, and I'm conscious of time because I want to give value to you and also to your listeners, because life encompasses so much, right? You heard that I was on the streets at 14 and I haven't had the greatest relationships surrounding me at that point in my life. But one relationship for me that has been probably the biggest learning curve of my life is the one with my son. I didn't want to be a father. I didn't think I could be one. If I have one regret in life, it's that I wasn't supportive enough to my wife when she was pregnant. I wouldn't touch her. I wouldn't go near her. I was too scared. I'd never held a baby until I've held my son. Even now, I won't hold someone else's baby, but I will hold my son. The very first hurdle of his life, the incident I was talking about where ice went through my business, happened when he was born. Mm-hmm. I was there for his birth, and then I wasn't there for the first week of his life after that. The very first hurdle, I failed as a father. Someone who didn't want to be a father, that's a big, scary moment. I'm glad I had it. I'm glad I had the opportunity to make changes in my life to make sure that he's my most important opportunity. Mm-hmm. So much so that he actually runs men's dinners with me now. He's my 2IC. Since he's 11 years old, he's been helping men have courageous conversations. My greatest teacher has taught me the importance of being honest at all points, having every conversation, not avoiding it, and growing through every situation.
So what I like, hopefully I'm not interrupting there. What I like about what you've done is you've done self-work, you've done it the painful way, achieved it, okay? And you're under no illusions that anything can happen tomorrow, later in the day, and you're ready for it. You're probably the best position you've probably ever been in your life or something. But when I got to pop up, okay? But you've consciously, that's you and your world. Now you've got your environment around you, your loved ones, and sometimes some strangers. Okay. But the key, what you're trying to do there is something I've been speaking about a lot with people now, is trying to break the chain. Okay. And this for me is legacy. This is what we leave behind. And legacy is everywhere. When you pick up after your dog or something, even the world a better place to found it. You know, all these small acts have a big effect. You know.
Yeah.
But your son, your children, okay, are the best opportunity to play your part in making the world a little bit better. Okay. And the fact that you sounds like you broke that chain and he's empowered,
Yeah,
at 11 years old, is music to my ears. And this is probably something, in my opinion, and I'm dad as well. You know, my son's 10 and we chip off the old block, poor boy. But in my opinion, it's probably something that all parents should listen to, because you know, the reverse of that is doing this incorrectly. I mean, haven't got people ready for the world and ready for what is good for them.
very much so. And it's not cool to be a man in today's society, right? It's really not. And I've got this 13-year-old, 6'1", well-presented young man. And it's not okay for him to be a man. That's a problem.
Yes, I do agree with that actually. But there's an element around the outer window which determines what is okay and what isn't. Okay, I'm a bit more traditionalist, and I like to think that we should all be able to play to our strengths and really know who we are. And it's a shame that it's moving that way, because this is what we're handing over to our children. And God knows where it's going to their kids.
So I'm excited about it. I like it. I nothing like some adversity to give you some conviction to be the best version of you. Nothing like being challenged with absolute passion to decide whether or not you really want to make a stand and be who you want to be. I think it's fantastic. Like, look, I said to you before when we had a brief conversation, I said, if you ever want to interview anyone, interview my son. He will give you an honest depiction of what's going on in society with no fear. Yeah. Honest conversations. And I think now more than ever, our men are needed. But we need, let's be honest, let's put our hands up, right? Years gone by, men could have done better. I could have done better. I didn't understand my impact upon others. Wasn't taught that. Wasn't taught about the fact that my emotions, when I don't understand them, just get projected onto other people. I wasn't taught to slow down and consider my actions. I was told to keep going, keep pushing. You know, I grew up with my father at 11 years old, drinking Kahlua and milk next to him to connect with him. Sitting there on a Sunday morning in bed, Kahlua and milk. That's how I connected with him. I learned to have sex through porn. No wonder I didn't have great connections when I was younger. No wonder I wasn't great to women. My son, however, he's going to kill me for this, but I'm going to ask you not to dive into this, but maybe dance around it. He was looking to do his first date. 13-year-old. Where do you think a 13-year-old would go for his first date?
Any of the usual standard places, but tell me where.
You think the movie, something like that, right? So that they wouldn't, so they could sit there, be there without actually having to talk. So his thoughts were, maybe the tulip farm or maybe the strawberry farm, because I get to walk in amongst nature. I get to see beauty. I get to smell it. And I actually get to spend time walking and actually communicating in nature. Problem was that they were a little bit too far out for him to get to, and you couldn't get a train there, couldn't do anything. And why is that relevant? Because he thought, the strawberry farm, he could sit there and eat and pick them and just have this beautiful conversation around beauty. He goes, but Dad, I sat and we processed that, but I couldn't get there on my own because he doesn't want me to drive him. So I said, that's interesting. He goes, Dad, so I sat and I talked to her and I'm like, I'd like to go to the botanical gardens because I know you draw well and I'd like for you to teach me how to draw. The best place to do that is in the botanical gardens. And I would like to show her that I'm responsible by taking her on the train, going to the botanical gardens, and then getting home in time to show her parents that I'm responsible. At which point her parents freaked out and said, you're not going because are you sure this kid's 13? What a different way of life when he's got the opportunity to have every single conversation he can have with an adult. The number one thing that I have taught him just through experience is the most important part of any relationship is communication. If you're open and you're intimate in conversation, then you can create intimacy in other parts of your life. Love is not porn or the Hollywood version. Love is acceptance, appreciation, and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
If you can conjure that up in a relationship, then you might have the opportunity to create intimacy.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And your son, what's his name?
Oscar.
Oscar, cracking name. I love it. So I'm very much looking forward to, with his permission, obviously, bringing him on here and having a conversation and making him the 2.0 of you. Okay. I reckon
one thing I can guarantee is
yeah.
definitely not 2.0 is all him.
Yeah, no, I love that, and that's what we like on here. To be honest with you, so yeah, happy to do that. Looking forward to it, and I think it would be really nice for people that have listened to this recording to listen to the subsequent recording and then join the dots somehow.
Yeah, 100%. I actually, when I first caught up with my father again, what's that? Sorry.
The internet's getting a bit sticky again then.
Oh, I think it is, but it is pretty windy here going on. I actually interviewed my father and I put it on the Campfire Project. Almost time we caught up and I put a microphone between us. And the courage he showed to do that was extraordinary. I asked him about his life. It was profound what I learned. I didn't forgive him, but I did accept him.
Mm-hmm.
That's
wonderful.
How are we for time? Because I'll share that one quickly if you like.
Yeah, do share it, but I reckon that'd be a nice way to make this round, if you like.
Yeah, beautiful. So, as you can hear, I've got a very close relationship with my son. I was in a taxi in Sydney heading toward a convention, a couple of speaking opportunities, and I'm sitting there talking with a cab driver, and we're talking about life. And he's got his what would you call it? Angelic. I'm not religious, so he's all hanging off the mirror, all the bits of the cross and all the bits and pieces. And I said to him, listen, I said, this is really interesting religion. I said, what's your thoughts on God? And we had a bit of a conversation, and that's really interesting. I said, because with religion, I actually think heaven and hell are here on earth. I think if you have all the conversations you need to have, you generally look after people, you go through and you support people, then in the latter days, you're living in heaven. People want to be around you. Alternatively, if you don't have those conversations, if you avoid situations and you generate life, then in your latter days, you're in living hell because no one wants to be around you. You're full of regret. You're full of pain. It was that moment that I sat and I thought, what's the one thing that would kill me? What regret couldn't I live with? And that was, if my son never spoke to me, it's the one thing that would truly kill me. And I thought to myself, I wonder if that's the situation for my father. In my hands was the opportunity to not live with that regret, to possibly heal his heart too. Then I interviewed him. He never met his father. He was brutalized as a child, so much so that he shot and killed his stepfather at the age of 12. No wonder he drank himself into oblivion for years. I want to finish with one thing, Tom. No one ever makes a decision to make the wrong decision. Only once they've made the decision do they know that it's the wrong decision and the consequences appear. Every single person is doing the best they can right now with the tools they have. We just need to understand what were the situations that made that decision the right decision for them in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good thought to wrap up on, and it all comes down to intention, and people that we understand intention. There's a lot more tolerance and like. It's been fantastic talking with you, or listening to you, and anybody listening to this that would like to communicate with you, whatever reason, how would they be in contact with you?
Yeah, beautiful. Just www.ihopeyouaresmiling.com. Facebook, LinkedIn. I do a lot of speaking around men's health, and especially around vulnerability, because I don't believe in it. And if you hear me speak, you will learn why. I won't dive down that right now. I'm a passionate man with a hell of a lot of life experience. And the most important thing that I can do is listen to your story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it. I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to this going out and people reaching out to you, and obviously subsequently speaking to your son as well. So thanks again for your time today, Scott. I appreciate it. And I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for watching this episode. I hope that you did enjoy it, had lots of takeaways from it. As before, please subscribe below so you can keep on top of any new releases we have. And also, if you would like to have your story told, just reach out with me and I'd love to give you that platform. My best email address is tom@purplepatchconsulting.com. Thank you.